Hello and welcome to the latest episode of You Look Happier. My name is Ellie Forsyth and I am a life coach and a counsellor. And this podcast interviews people with real stories all about a time in their life where they may have overcome something or a certain aspect of their life which is interesting for them to share. Now, I want to introduce our guest for today's episode, and that is Vix. Welcome, Vix.
Hi.
How are you feeling?
I'm good. I'm a little nervous.
That's normal.
It's a little nervous, yeah.
Is it the lights and the mics?
It's the professionalism.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
like I'm used to sitting on the floor of my bedroom while my kids are asleep, talking into the bottom of my phone, whereas this is like very...
It's in your face, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, hopefully, after we sort of get into the swing of things, you'll forget that these are even here. Or if not, just keep looking at me.
Just keep the eye contact.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for the listeners, the reason why Vix is a guest today is because I have been following your videos on TikTok for quite some time now. And I've got to say I'm a fan. I am a fan of
thanks.
your videos. And then one day I was just watching on sort of like my private account and I thought, do you know what? I'm going to message her and I'm going to see if she would be interested in coming onto my podcast. And we'll get into the kind of videos that you make and the kind of sort of story that you tell online. But number one, I'm so grateful that you agreed.
I was so thrilled. I ran downstairs, I was like, someone wants me to go on a podcast. And my husband was like, not about murder. I was like, no, not about, because I listen to a lot of true crime podcasts. And I was like, no, not about murder, just about my life. And he was like, oh, all right then. But I was all week, I think I'm going on a podcast.
I love that
I don't
so
shut
much.
up about it to him.
I thought, I won't get a reply to this, but sod it, I'm going to send it anyway.
No.
And then you did. And then we had our little video call
Yeah.
to talk about what we might talk about today. And now you're here.
I am.
So thank you so much for coming on.
Well, I'm thrilled.
And if you are watching this and not listening, or if you can hear this sort of crinkling, she's made me a cake.
Yeah, some caramel, chocolate and oat bars.
That is so, so kind.
And if you warm them up in the microwave, they're really good.
Oh, you've made my day. Thank you so much.
No worries.
So, could you explain to the listeners that may not have seen your videos before or might want to know more about you, just a little bit about who you are?
I am a stay-at-home mum to 2 kids under 4. My husband does a lot of work, so I'm predominantly at home on my own a lot. And what I found was being a stay-at-home mum is a great privilege, but you do get a little bit lonely. And I also have had quite a few jokes in my head that I would crack. So I would be like, oh, this is quite funny and this is quite funny. And then I started seeing on social media the kind of rise of the mummy vlogger and thought, I could do that. And so I earmarked this particular day that I was going to start. And on that particular day, my daughter threw up on the way to the childminders. And I just thought, you know what? You have to start. There has to be a starting point. And this is not the ideal starting point. And I'd done maybe 10 videos before that. But I was like, I didn't really feel like I'd committed.
Okay.
She threw up on the way to the childminders. And I was like, right, you just got to do this now. You just have to, rip off the plaster and just get on with it. And that video ended up getting 50,000 views. And that was it. I just carried on from there.
That is crazy. And I think we were talking a little bit before about the algorithm and how a video can actually grow and get followers and get viewers. But that's really interesting because you'd done 10 beforehand.
Yeah, but not really committed. I was really self-conscious.
Right.
And I really maybe hadn't put my whole personality out there. And I'd maybe been a bit guarded. And a really good friend of mine, I was talking to her and I was like, I'm doing these videos. And she said, yeah, but babe, you've got to commit. You've got to be you on there. Make sure people know you, because otherwise you're just like everyone else out there, because she's quite brutal like that. She's like, you're just like everyone else otherwise. If you're just there with a nice house and you're a bit beige, she was like, just make sure your personality gets across, because that's what's going to sell it to people.
Yeah.
And so in those videos before, I think I'd just been like, oh, do you know what I mean? You'd been all nice and airbrushed. And then my daughter threw up on the way to the childminders and I was like, well, that's going in.
Yeah.
And then we went for a walk around Home Sense. Well, that's going in. Just actual life as opposed to the kind of airbrushed, fanciful version I'd done before.
Did you think at that time when you had done like the 10 beforehand, did you think that that is what people wanted to see, that airbrushed version?
That's what you see on social media.
Yeah.
You see the airbrushed version. So you think, oh, because these accounts are bigger, these are the successful people. That's what people want to see, is the nice airbrushed version. And I just thought, one of the like mummy vloggers that I really like is Mummy's Flipping House, but she does a lot of talking to camera, and I was not confident enough to do that. So I thought it's going to have to be something with a voiceover, because I'm just not confident enough to talk to the camera. And then I came across, I think she's called Nuki Mummy,
Right.
and she does a lot of like vlogging with a voiceover, and I thought, oh, that's more me. But she's got a slightly different sense of humour. So I thought, you know, if I can use that kind of medium to get mine across. And then I started looking up different TikTok videos about like day in the life videos. And you get to just see lots of different people's videos, and then just went from there, really. Because, yeah, it is the perfection that you see on social media. I think we're starting to see more people be more real, and that seems to be getting more popular.
Well, I have to say, from watching yours, the reason why I liked yours so much is because it was so real. And it's just the day-to-day aspects of your life, but there was humour there as well. You used sarcasm, and I thought, no, I'm enjoying this, and I've been watching this for ages. And because you do them daily, I would sort of scroll knowing that the next one would pop up then, like if it was the following day, and I'd think, oh yeah, here she is, I'm just gonna watch this again.
Yeah.
So and my friends that are listening to this will know I was so busy when you said yes. I said, she's coming on. And one of my friends said, oh my god, I love her. I said, yeah, me too. So tell me about your confidence during this time, like with these videos. Were you nervous to start posting and really committing?
So I probably came up with the kind of concept of it last summer, because I had a business that I closed last September. I did sustainable stationery and recyclable wrapping paper. And after the birth of my second child, I was really struggling to keep up. So I turned off retail sales and just went through to wholesale sales. And then I got a really lovely email from a department store I'd wanted to be in for a really long time last May, and they were asking for my Christmas range, and there was just no way I was going to be able to deliver that. And I had a little cry, and I kind of just had to accept that this business that I really loved and had really enjoyed growing just wasn't practical with 2 kids under 3. And that's quite hard when you've really put your kind of like heart and soul into something. So I decided that the best thing for me personally was not to stretch myself thinner and try and get this Christmas stuff. I just said, you know what, actually, maybe it's just time to put this on hiatus. So I did a huge sale. All the meantime, I'm talking to my friend Chloe about doing some social media, because I just felt like I was a bit, I don't want to say trapped at home, because I don't want it to sound like with my kids I feel trapped, because it's not the taking care of them that I find difficult. It's the doing everything else and taking care of them that's quite challenging. And so I was kind of talking about it, and then I closed my business in September, and then in the October I tried to do a bit of home account social media, and I just found it really difficult to take a photo of a clean kitchen.
Right.
Because my kitchen is never clean. Yeah. My house is never clean. I've never got, and I don't have like 2 hours to clean the kitchen, clean every surface, take photographs, edit photographs, get them onto, it just doesn't happen. It's not real. And then I listened to 2 books back to back. There was the 5-second rule, I think it is, by Mel Robbins, and then Manifest by Roxy Nafusi.
Yeah. And
the whole thing was basically like, what is holding you back from doing it? You have I can't remember what's it? Oh, I can't think of the word. Not an unfair belief. You have a
limiting belief.
Have a limiting belief that X, Y, Z, you can't do it.
Yeah.
Well, actually, that's just you. Mm-hmm. It's no one else. It's just you that's saying you can't do it. So I thought I was too fat. I thought I didn't wear enough makeup. I thought I wasn't well enough put together well enough. I thought my house wasn't finished. I thought no one's going to want to watch this. And I thought, well, if you just start, you won't know unless you start. Mm-hmm. If you say, oh, well, this isn't right, you'll never know. Just do it and then work it out. If no one watches, no one watches. What have you lost?
I have so much respect for you for those few statements there. And it's too common that people let fear get in the way of something which they really want to do. And some of those statements which you've made about yourself, like about your appearance or about the fact people may not view it, so that might be a fear of failure there. All of these things can prevent us from doing the things that we really want to do.
Yeah.
And it's something which I see in my day-to-day work all the time. But I had the exact same thing. Starting this podcast, I thought, no one's going to listen to it. Everyone's going to laugh at me. No one's going to want to come on and be a guest. And I thought, if I listen to all of those sort of voices in my head, I'll just stay stuck. I'll never do the thing.
There was a really good Tom Brady quote that said, I think it's Tom Brady. He says, there's nothing, the only thing between him and anyone else out there is the consistency to go to practice, the consistency to work. I mean, he's obviously a very talented football player anyway. But if you look at that statement, what he's saying is, the only difference between you and me is that I got up in the morning and did it and you stayed in bed.
Powerful.
And I think that's quite interesting. It's the same thing as your podcast. You don't know. This podcast, you could do one episode, it could go viral. You could be massive. You could be the next Diary of a CEO. But you don't know, because if you stayed at home and told yourself it wasn't going to go anywhere, it isn't going to go anywhere.
Yeah. And that's fear.
Yeah.
There is have you ever heard of the caveman theory?
No.
So this is, like back in caveman days, there are sort of human instincts needed to protect us. So don't go over there. There's a big scary lion. You need to stay here where it's safe. Caveman mentality. Now we are guilty of still having those kind of thoughts and prevention techniques in our mind, preventing us from doing things. And it's the caveman aspect and the caveman theory. Like, don't start vlogging your life in case anybody doesn't watch it. Fear.
Yeah.
Like, oh, no. Scary. Stay here where it's safe. Yes, you may not go anywhere. You might be stuck, but stay exactly where you are, because we don't know what's on the other side. So it's like the caveman theory, but you overcame that.
Yeah, but I think there's also as a society, we're very quick to bash people down. And I think there's also a thing of people are scared to start because they've seen other people get knocked about. Look at Caroline Flack. Do you know what I mean? You look at other people and you go, well, that's happened to her. That could happen to me. I'll stay here.
Yeah.
Why do it? But I found a great deal of I found confidence by doing it. And I found the consistency both challenging and rewarding, because every day I get up, I make my bed. Those are things I was doing before I was putting it on video.
Right.
But it's formed, my daily habits have formed a structure to my videos that I didn't see before I started doing the videos. So it makes you both acknowledge your day-to-day life, but also build confidence in the fact that what you're doing is entirely normal, because we don't really live in a village anymore. And we don't know that what we do is entirely normal. Mm-hmm. And we're all, especially as mums, you're sitting there thinking, am I doing this right? Yeah, they're alive and they seem happy, but am I doing it right? Is this what everyone else is doing? I think what we miss in social media is the power of connecting that village back up and saying, actually, we're all the flaming same.
Why do you think that community isn't there from a social media aspect, and people don't share their vulnerabilities as much?
Because of people being mean about it.
Yeah.
We're very quick to joke. We've lost the art of moderation we've lost the art of moderation in our generation.
Yeah.
You can't half do something because you'll get slated for not doing it 100%. I try to avoid ultra processed food, but I still buy pouches of yogurts for my kids from a bougie yogurt company. We're not I'm not putty-faloo in it. I've gone, the extra mile and researched all my products. Well, I still have people comment on my videos going, well, you're not UPF free because you buy those packets of yogurt.
Really?
And I'm like, babe, I'm not feeding them e-numbers, but I don't judge anyone who does feed them e-numbers. You feed your kids whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
But that in itself, my entire food shop, I did one food shop video where I kind of put in, and I love Diet Coke. Well, I'm not giving it up because I like it.
Yeah.
I don't want to drink some herbal alternative that tastes rank. I want to drink Diet Coke. The comments underneath, well, you're not really UPF free because you drink Diet Coke. I was like, no, I also eat mini eggs. What are you going to do about it?
Love that.
Just because we just don't accept We are like so black and white. There is no grey.
Yeah.
We're not accepting of people's flaws or individuality. You either are 100% perfect or you're wrong. And we just don't, there's no tolerance.
With the kind of comments and feedback that you've had on social media, what I really like, even with what you're saying here, is you're not forming that, oh yeah, no, I am 100%. You're honest and you're real. I like mini eggs, I like Diet Coke, and I buy these yogurts for my children.
Yeah.
Like, so what? Leave me alone.
But if you're a mum and you're thinking, oh, do you know what? I don't like the fact my kids eat so much processed food. I'm thinking of going a bit UPF free, but I couldn't commit to doing everything. You don't need to look at a video of someone online that says, if you don't do it, then you're not real. You know, you're not being a great parent unless you're like making your own bread every morning.
Yeah.
Or like going and cutting down a banana to make pancakes. If you're just trying your best, that's good enough. If you're just making a pasta sauce of an evening, that's fine. If your little steps get you there, it's not you. Also, especially if you're a working mum, it must be so hard because you're like, oh, I've got to do this, I've got to do that. Just try one thing, one dinner a week that doesn't involve, you know, no one wants to try because you're not going to do it 100%. Everyone has to start somewhere. Mm-hmm. And we just don't acknowledge that anymore.
How did you start with the ultra-processed foods, homemade stuff? Because I've seen you make your own ice cream, bread. Yeah. How did you start? Did you start little or?
So I'd be in a bit of a unique position with that. My dad was a chef.
Okay.
So, and I hadn't actually realised until recently when I was talking to my mum about UPF food. And she said, oh, your dad was very like that. And she said he would never let you have whippy ice cream. And I'd never even remembered it. And I thought, actually, yeah, we went to see the ice cream van. We had to get a scoop of ice cream. We weren't allowed whippy ice cream. And he always used to say, oh, it's got too many E numbers in it. But I don't remember that part of my childhood because we still had ice cream. We still had cake. We just didn't have it from the shop. It wasn't, he just made it instead. But I listened to the Chris Van Tullochen book, Ultra Processed People, on the way home from a holiday on an audio book last May. And I listened to it and it just made a lot of sense because what he kind of says is our bodies and our brains can't process this food because it's an industrial chemical. It's not a food. If your grandmother looked at it, would she know what it was? Would she acknowledge it as food?
Okay.
Because if you look at the rise in obesity, I mean, this is all in his book. I'm sounding like an authority here. This isn't my research. There's a huge spike in the 1970s where obesity just goes up and it's gone up ever since. And that is when we started with like high fructose corn syrup and all that kind of stuff with the additives into our food. And it's just a curve that goes up and up and up. And obesity, health problems. And so I was looking at that and I was like, oh my God, I'm poisoning my children. This is awful. Freaked out about it for 2 months, tried to make my own bread, completely lost the plot. And like, and then of course you just buy Chinese and then you're like, oh, what, you know, skips are in the trolley and you're like, oh, I can't do any of it. And I thought, you know what, we'll just do dinners. Dinners will just be processed, UPF free. And then it was like, and then we'll just do lunches will be UPF free. And I found breakfast really hard because my little boy loves Cheerios. And then gradually you get to like Weetabix is kind of regarded as, it's still a UPF, but it's on the healthier side of UPFs. And then you kind of work out that like you don't have to bake your own bread because there's like Jason's and all these other things, these little like hacks. And I think you don't have to stress yourself out to do it. You just have to do what's manageable for you. But yeah, I started very gradually. But then obviously worked out that at some point in my childhood that was there as well.
Wow. I like that aspect of things as well, because you didn't go, right, I am going to be the UPF free mummy. I'm not going to have anything with UPF in it. You started small. And then you recognise there was failures there as well. And I mean failures on like a minor scale. You tried your own bread and it didn't work out.
No,
like,
it's awful.
That's really honest of you though.
Horrendous.
Because I actually have a friend and I know that she'll listen to this and she's getting into like the UPF free nutrition kind of aspect of things. And I think there will be listeners that will hear this and think, oh no, I like that because I've maybe tried and failed. So thank you for sharing that. That's something that you did as well.
Also, UPF-free chocolate is kind of rank.
I mean, I wouldn't even know where to start. I'm not going to lie to you.
There's
where
a
would I
lint
find
bar
it?
That's like, oh, in Tesco, there's like an 70%, 80% lint bar. What? My kids aren't going to eat that. Like, just give them a Freddo.
Yeah.
And there are some women on TikTok who are like taking packed lunches to their kids' birthday parties so they don't eat UPF food. And I was like, I'm not trashing my kids' childhood. I just want them to know this is what real food looks like.
Yeah.
And that UPF food is around and it's a treat. And even Chris Van Tulloken in his book is still talking about feeding his kids spaghetti hoops. He wrote the book and he's still feeding his kid. You will never, ever, ever create a world where there is no UPF food. So you need to, in my opinion, introduce that to your kids in a healthy, sustainable way. UPF food is there. It's a treat.
Moderation.
Yeah.
Okay, good to know. So if, with what you're sharing here, based on the videos that you kind of create, that's something which you incorporate into your videos.
Yeah.
Have you found the whole making videos, sharing your life, have you found it challenging at all?
The consistency is challenging.
Right.
So I had done pre-Christmas, I used to do 3 to 4 videos a week. And then at Christmas, I was thinking and I thought, do you know what? This year they talk about flamingos when they give birth, they lose their pink.
Yeah.
And then gradually they get it back. And I was kind of thinking, what do I really want to achieve for myself this year? Well, I want to lose my baby weight. Okay. And actually what makes me really happy, well, doing these videos makes me really happy. And so I got out my little manifest book and did my little vision boards, and mine are written. I don't do the pictures thing. Mine are written. And I did myself a 6 and a 12-month vision board. And on thinking of things that really fulfilled me, I thought, you know what, I want to grow this to this and I want to do this. It's kind of gone from there really. But yeah, I decided to do a daily video because I thought that's a good, consistent thing to do. And I have found the consistency of that challenging.
Right.
Because every day I post. But I love it. I do really enjoy it. And I really like talking to people in the comments afterwards. That's the reason I do it, really.
Well, you've got a real community on your videos, like on your comments. And I do see you do reply.
Yeah.
And you do have like chats to people. And people will value that.
But also, and I don't mean to sound, I'm not digging it like, I kind of think if people have taken the time to watch my video and they've taken the time to leave a comment, the least you can do is like the comment or reply. Because what you're saying is this is my reality and I'm comfortable sharing that reality. It doesn't mean it isn't the reality for everyone else out there.
Yeah.
And what I find particularly useful for me is there are a lot of ladies in my comments who are both living a similar life to me with toddlers.
Yeah.
That's really helpful. But also there are older ladies, and I'm not talking like old, old ladies who have older kids who are like, this won't last forever. And that's really reassuring too, because when you're in the trenches of it, you're like, when will this end?
Yeah.
But then you've got lovely ladies out there that are like, stick with it, you'll survive it. Like they're really encouraging about it.
Yeah.
And so that's really nice then, because you're like, it won't be like this forever. I will get to go out for a meal without having to cut up food, change a nappy, dig a toy out from under the table, stop someone putting their finger in their eye. I will get that time back. And then like just enjoy, and it gives you an ease back into what you're experiencing.
Yeah. With the connection from the comments and you viewers, with them sharing positive influences, like it will be okay, Vix. Just keep going. You know how you mentioned prior to all of these sort of videos that you were creating, you felt loneliness.
Yeah.
Has that helped?
Yeah, completely. Because really you feel lonely because I have my kids 4 days a week. They go to childcare 3 days a week. Between 9:30 and 3:30, yes, I do have that time on my own. But there's a very limited amount of that I can spend socialising because I do have so many other things to do.
Yeah.
Like putting clothes away with toddlers is like one step forward, 43,000 steps back.
Yeah.
Because while you're putting stuff away in one drawer, they're across the other side of the room pulling everything out of another drawer. So you're kind of putting clothes away here, putting those away there. Like the other day, I went upstairs to put some stuff away in my son's drawer. I'm like hanging stuff up. They're pulling the hangers off. They're pulling stuff off the hangers. They're getting my shoes out. One of them was in the bath. He's in the bathroom pouring bubble bath all over the floor because I had missed where he had gone for 30 seconds while putting his clothes away. He's taken himself off, out of his room, round the corner, off to the bathroom, and he's like, Mummy, look, mess. And I'm like, yay. Because then you've got to put one in the car, drive down to the supermarket, get more soap. Like it's just So being able to share stuff like that, you know that you're not alone in that situation. Anyway, you have to do stuff in those time periods that you can't do with your kids.
Right.
Well, I might be able to squeeze in one coffee a week. Like today, this week, this is my coffee time, is coming to do this. Well, when I get home, I've still got stuff to do. Because also I kind of use the time to prep to make my life easier for when I have the kids on my own.
Okay.
Because my husband works weekends and then Monday and Tuesday, I'm kind of on my own. I do have my lovely cleaner that comes as well. But there's only so much you can do in that time. So you have to make all your time work. There's no downtime. And so having the conversations in the comments with people is wonderful because you don't feel alone. You have like your little catch-ups with your little mates and then you watch your murder mystery on the TV.
I love that so much. And it sounds so mental to say because I bet you've never met any of these people.
No, I haven't. Aside from you. You're the only one, yeah.
But they're watching and they're offering their support to you because they've either been through it themselves or they just genuinely want to provide some happiness to your day. But they're doing that because they like you. They know, like, and trust you. That's the whole thing about social media. Now, you're just being you.
Yeah.
You're just being real. That was the reason why I liked your videos because I thought, oh, no, she's raw and she's real. You know, with all of this that you've started doing, how have, like, friends, family, your husband, what's their view on everything that you're doing now?
I don't know. And I don't mean this in a harsh way. I don't know that I care, which is very new for me because I'm a people pleaser, like to my core.
Yeah.
I am like a pure people pleaser. I think I had a few rules from the start. My husband does not like social media.
Okay.
At all. He has one very private Instagram account and that's it. He doesn't have Facebook, certainly doesn't have TikTok. And I knew from the start that I didn't want to share my kids' faces or their names. So straight away, those were like my boundaries. I don't share my husband. I don't share my kids. I don't share the geographical location of my home.
Yeah.
You know, those were like my boundaries. A lot of my friends follow my Instagram version of my TikTok account. But I don't know that if any of them said anything negative, I'd stop. Because it brings me a recognition and fulfillment that I have struggled to find elsewhere. Wow. Because it is me as a person that you're seeing. It's not a character. That is literally my life. And I like sharing it. If at any point I get to the point where I don't like sharing it anymore, I just won't post anymore.
Yeah.
It's a passion project. A friend of mine said to me, it's a passion project for you. It's not a career. And I was like, yeah, kind of is.
And there's nothing that you are hiding other than sort of like the boundaries that you've got. There's no front that you're putting on. So essentially, if somebody close to you or somebody says that they don't really like that, well, you think, well, this is me. I can't change anything of it.
Yeah.
And this is a journey that you've put yourself on, but it's brought you some happiness.
Yeah.
It's brought you connection. What's it done for your confidence?
Oh, it's made a huge... I think the doubts that I had about myself, the kind of internal monologue that you build, you know, of like the negative points about yourself, it's reduced the volume of that in my brain. Okay. The point of me that was like, you're not good enough to do this. Nobody will be interested in this. All these other things that you don't get seen. Because I've put it out there and people have responded and I seem to have like gained this kind of online community, that the volume of those negative thoughts goes down. I still have them.
Right.
But the kind of volume of your positive thoughts goes up. And this is why if anyone comments on my videos saying, oh, I really want to start, I'm like, start, do it. Because I'll help you. I'll share it. It's lovely. The more the more mums, I think, go on social media and show the actual, what it's like in motherhood, the better it will be for every other mother. If you're awake at 2:00 in the morning thinking, why is no one else awake? And you come across another mum's video and she's awake at 2:00 in the morning, you're like, I'm
not on my own.
Yeah, the reassurance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think what is really, really valuable is the element that you're not hiding the warts and all aspect of motherhood, okay? Now, with a lot of my listeners are mums. And I remember one of my friends sharing that she had her little girl and she's got really big family, but she was really, really struggling in those early morning kind of aspects because she felt so on her own. Now, let's say, with everything that you're doing now, so this journey that you're on now, if you'd have started that maybe when your children were younger or when you were really, really new in motherhood, do you think it would have made a difference?
I don't know. I think being new in motherhood, I think you have to find your own rhythm. I think you have to find your own groove. And I think there's like a process that you have to go through to get there. And that is messy. It's messy mentally. It's messy physically. I think if I tried to do it, I've built myself a routine now, like I was saying, like a structure, like I make my bed, I do all these things. And my vlogging has now got into being part of that routine.
Yeah.
I really would like to have another baby. So I'm hoping I could still keep up vlogging with a really small baby.
Yeah.
But I don't know that I could have started a new routine with a small baby.
Right.
Because they are hard work and they're wonderful and they need so much of your time and attention that I feel okay that I might be able to carry this on and have another baby. But if you're like brand new to motherhood, just drink that in. If you want to capture parts of your day and vlog, then absolutely do that. But if you're looking for reassurance or to put that out there, I would say enjoy those moments with your baby and then do what you want to do on top of that. I wouldn't have a baby and try and start something new, put it that way.
Okay.
Because having a baby is a new thing in itself.
Yeah.
It changes your whole life. You see it all the time on TikTok. Oh, if you knew me 2 years ago, then you didn't know me because I've had a child since then. You are a completely different person post kids.
When you're sharing this, in my head, I was actually thinking, about motherhood and how motherhood changes you. I've not actually announced it yet, but I'm going to be having a baby.
Yes!
I was thinking, do I say it or do I not? This is a perfect thing to say.
I love that.
Because these flipping videos, they're going to start sharing soon.
I'm so pleased.
So this is really helpful for me because I'm thinking, oh, okay, because I do this, I run like my business, and this is really relatable for me, thinking, well, I keep doing this then.
Yeah.
People say it's hard, but people say it's amazing and it changes their life completely. And I've got all of this to look forward to.
Yeah, you can keep your life. It just looks a bit different.
Okay.
The only thing I would say is, as opposed to trying to keep everything the same, lean in. Lean into the change. Don't lean out from it. Don't say, I don't want my life to change. This baby's going to have to slot into my life.
Yeah.
Work your life around your baby. You can. There is a way. I mean, when you get into multiple babies, it gets a bit more difficult. Yeah. But little babies are great. They're great. And if you're in a routine like you are now with your podcast and your business, of course you can still do it. It might look a bit different.
Yeah.
You might not be able to look as put together as you do now, but you can still do it. Of course you can. But lean in, because that little person, you have their part of your life. Yeah. You're their whole life.
Yeah.
And so if you lean into motherhood and you say, yeah, it's all going to be a bit messy and my nips are going to be a bit sore and I'm going to eat a packet of digestive biscuits 3 o'clock in the morning.
I'll do that in a minute.
Yeah. So. You'll embrace it as opposed to finding... I've got some friends who've tried to keep their life the same with a baby. And I think then the baby becomes an inconvenience.
Right.
Whereas if you kind of, I don't know, that's just my tip, lean into it.
That's so helpful, not only to me, but I know for a lot of the people that will be listening to this. And you are so relatable and you are so real. When you mentioned your business that you had, so it was sustainable stationery, recyclable wrapping paper.
Yeah.
I'm impressed I've remembered that. Yeah. Did you have children then?
No.
So you didn't. So that was before your children.
Yeah, that was okay. I started that in 2020 in the lockdown.
Got it.
So I used to do leisure sales, like gym membership sales.
Right.
And when my husband and I got engaged, we kind of went through a bit of a process where we had a very long and very frank discussion, and his business was just starting to take off. And my job, I had worked a lot of long hours, and we kind of just said, My job isn't going to work to support his goals. And I know that's not a popular thing to say, but we kind of made the decision between ourselves that he was going to work and I was going to be a stay-at-home mum. I mean, I wasn't a mum. It took 2 years to have my first child.
Okay.
And we weren't even married. But we were like, right, if I stay at home, I take care of the house, the dogs, life, he goes to work. And I did about 8 months of that. And then on my 30th birthday, I had a complete mental breakdown, crying, my life is nothing. I have nothing in my life. And he was like, oh my God, she's lost the plot. And I was like, I need something in my life. And so I started my business.
Right.
And then it kind of took off on a trajectory I just didn't anticipate. Because I think within the first 4 months, we were stopped at Daylesford. And I was like, holy shit balls. I did not see this coming. So, and then it went on and on and on. I had my son, kept it going around him because he would, they do nap a lot to start off with. They're great like that. I would work in his nap times. I would work when he'd gone to bed. He was a terrible sleeper. He woke up every 2 hours for the first 7 months. I lost 5 stone because he was just intense. I mean, he would sleep in the pram. So I was doing like 20,000 steps a day. I was breastfeeding. And he was up every 2 hours and I thought I was going to die.
Wow.
But I loved it. It gave me like a new purpose. And I still think back to those days and they were so hard. But even now, like I just love babies. So when you have your baby, you've got to come see me because I need to cuddle this baby.
I will. The business which you had was a way for you to find purpose by the sounds of things.
It was 50-50.
Okay.
So there was a Christmas where I was there and I'm a type A, so I'm all there like organising my recycling, And my husband's cousin says to me, Vic, you can't put that in the recycling bin. I went, of course you can't, it's wrapping paper. Don't be ridiculous. Like I'm type A, I know what I'm doing here. You don't know. And it turns out he ran an anaerobic digester. So he's in recycling, he's in waste management.
Right.
And he's like, no.
I'm glad you explained that. Yeah. So I don't know what that is.
And he's like, no, Vic, you can't. It's got plastic in it. And I'm like, where? So we have this whole conversation. He's like, here, this is a plastic coating. This is foil. If you put this in this, it's this. And I was like, oh, so what happens to it? He goes, well, they pack it in a container and they ship it off to China. And then the Chinese put it in their landfill. I was like, what? And he's like, oh, yeah. And then sometimes we contaminate our paper so much with wrapping paper that it gets to China, they open it and they go, no, this is too contaminated. We can't turn this into anything. They shut the doors back up and they ship it back to us. Shocking, isn't it?
It is.
I was like, well, that is just not good enough. So then for the next 6 months, just went around the high street buying wrapping paper, working out that like half of it wasn't recyclable. Paper Chase, I know they're dead now, but like they were the worst. You would get there, you'd have the rolls covered in cellophane.
Yeah.
And they would have a little recyclable logo on it. But that was for the cardboard tube that went down the middle.
No.
Not the paper. So I was
little
like...
fippers.
Yeah, exactly. So I was like, oh no. So then after my old little mental breakdown on my 30th birthday, I was like, I've got to do something about this because this is just not good enough. It's such a superfluous product that we're just ruining the planet because of it. And so I started my company, got stopped in Daylesford, ended up selling to America as well. But then all the high streets started going on with it. Then M&S bought out. And now M&S is all their wrapping paper is recyclable. It's great. It's not so great for the little businesses that started the thing.
Yeah.
I'm going to sneak this one in as well. So sellotape.
Yeah.
If you leave your sellotape attached to the paper, that paper goes straight to landfill because they're not going to sit there and unpeel it off. They just take it and they send it straight to landfill.
I haven't got anything to say to that.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. So if you put your wrapping paper in the recycling bin with the sellotape still attached, no one at the recycling centre goes, oh, I know what I'll do with that. I'll take the sellotape off and I'll send that paper to recycling. They just go, no, off it goes. Straight to landfill. It gets put in that container and that container goes to China and that's it, done. So you could buy the nicest, brownest wrapping paper, but if it's got sellotape on it, it ain't getting recycled.
I would have had no idea about all of this. So your business, and I know that you closed your business, but that was a way for you to find some purpose, but also it was something that you were really passionate in.
Yeah, it's a purpose-driven brand for sure.
Yeah, I love that.
So it's on a hiatus at the moment. I'd really love to bring it back when the kids are in school. Okay. But now also I do this vlogging and I absolutely love that. So I would kind of have to probably have to vlog the bringing it back. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I kind of feel like day in the life of a business owner with hopefully 3 kids and a husband that works all the time. So it would be like a bit of a progression. But yeah, definitely a purpose-driven brand. And something I am really passionate about. So that's why at Christmas all my presents are wrapped in brown paper.
And my cake.
Yeah.
That is right, isn't it?
Yeah.
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 Okay. I love that. And why not?
Yeah.
You've got a business now, essentially, with your vlogging.
Yeah.
And I know you might be thinking, well, it's not actually a business yet, Elle, but it's a purpose.
It is.
Isn't it? It's brought you confidence. It's brought you structure and routine. Even though you had it, you had it already. You're making your bed every day. You're looking after your children, the home, your husband, the dogs. But it's holding you accountable for everything.
Yeah.
Daily posting is a very big commitment.
It is. It is. And sometimes, especially now, I'm like, why did you do that? Because now, if I put like an Ocado shop, I did for a couple of weeks, be like, just do a day in the life. And people would be like, yes, we still want a day in the life. I'm like, oh, all right, then we'll do a day in the life. It is a big commitment, but it is something I really enjoy. And there are days when it gets, especially when they're like, the kids are fighting sleep, like when the clock change.
Right.
7 o'clock is still light. The kids are like, no, it's not bedtime. I'm like, yes, it is, because mummy's got to do a voiceover. So it's bedtime, guys. You know.
So you do them in the evenings.
So I do the clips.
Yeah.
I really make a very concerted effort that my clips do not overtake what I'm doing with my kids. So that's why it's great that I do these like 1-second clips, because I'll get my phone out, I'll do a quick clip of the kids, and then that's it, phone goes away.
Yeah.
Like back of their heads or whatever, if we're going into a shop.
Yeah.
I don't have my phone out all the time. There's no like smile for the camera kids. It's just, and then I piece that together. So after tea, we'll go into the lounge. They either play with their toys or they watch a bit of Peter Rabbit or Mojo Swap Tops or In the Night Garden or whatever it is they're watching. And in that 20 minutes, I will put my video together. Then they go to bed. And then I go and sit on the floor of either the bathroom or the bedroom or the dressing room. And I do the voiceover. And then I'm downstairs by 8:15 and I'm posting.
Wow, that is a structure.
Yeah.
But you will have got better and better at that. You'll know exactly what you're doing now.
So
I bet you can literally put a video
I'm like
together.
bam, 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 bam.
Wow.
But I used to post at 4:00. I used to put all my video together, and then at 3:30, I would put it all together, and it used to take me half an hour to do the voiceover, and I was getting later and later to pick up the kids, and I was like, actually, if I just post later, it doesn't hurt anybody.
No.
So yeah, I just do it.
And unless somebody is actually going onto your TikTok page or your Instagram and waiting for it, refreshing it, it comes through at different times anyway. Like sometimes I won't go on my phone till, I don't know, like 9:30 in the evening, or because I haven't watched your one from yesterday yet. So like in the mornings.
I know, you didn't know you were getting a cake, did you?
Or in the mornings. So I don't know what time you've posted that.
No.
So I'm glad that you haven't put as much pressure on yourself and you've put it later on.
Yeah.
Okay, good to know. So one last sort of insight, which I'm really interested in, is just like your life in general. So you've mentioned that you don't share about your children's faces, their names, or your husband. Do you find it difficult to, because you call them muffin number 1 and 2, don't they?
Yeah.
Don't you? Do you find it difficult to not get their faces in?
Oh yeah, of course.
Because they move all the time.
They do. And there's been so many times where like I've had a great shot and then my son's just turned around and I'm like, no. But I do it because it's their life. And I don't want, I've got to balance this. In 5 years' time, their friends could very easily go on TikTok and find the videos of them.
Yeah.
And I don't want to put anything out there that's ever going to harm them in any way, because they're like they're my whole life. So it is hard. It is quite difficult. But also, I saw a thing that said, if you've got to put an emoji over something, is the picture really worth sharing? So I generally take that view. If I've got to hide them, is it really worth sharing in the first place? So, yeah. But there are some great stuff that, like, I would love to share, but I can't because it would be too much for the kids. This is something I've decided to do, not something they've decided to do.
And I love that for you, though.
And even, like, at school, there's a couple of mums that have, like, seen my TikToks and I'll chat to them and stuff. And even those mums don't know what my kids look like.
Wow.
because you can't see them in the video.
No,
So
you
they
can't.
don't know what they look like. So they'll be like chatting to me like, oh, I saw your video, or like, oh, I loved the video yesterday. And then my son will come running up and they have no idea if that's my
Actually
son.
who it is.
Or, yeah, which is really nice, actually.
I respect you
Yeah.
for it.
Yeah.
I do. And I love the muffin number 1 and 2. I think that was one of the first videos I watched. I thought, oh, that's cute that she's called her children, like their nicknames.
Total accident. That video I was talking about where she threw up.
Yeah.
And then somewhere in there, I just called her muffin number 2. And then it just stuck. It wasn't even a thing I consciously thought about.
You and your husband called them or anything?
No, we used to be the 3 bears, because muffin number 2 was a very happy surprise, but we were the 3 bears. It was mummy bear, daddy bear, baby bear.
Because you still say daddy bear,
I still
don't
say
you?
daddy bear, yeah. So because there was the 3 of us, we used to be the 3 little bears. So I was going to call them like the baby bears, but then like she just ended up getting called muffin number 2, and it's just stuck. So now I'm like mama to the muffins, and it made me laugh once because someone was like, "Oh, I thought you were just really fond of your baked goods." So I just thought, "Oh, she's going to go."
I wondered whether this cake would be a muffin actually today.
She just really like, I've got to go and collect the muffins, and we're like, oh, she's really committed to collecting muffins. I was like, they're my kids, yeah.
Okay, amazing. And another thing which I know a lot of your viewers are interested in is your home.
Yeah.
And the home in which you live in. Now, when we met on our little video call, you shared that was a long old process.
Oh, that was a long slog.
To get into your home.
Oh, yeah.
So could you just share just a little bit? Because I know a lot of people will view your videos and think, oh, wow. But it didn't seem as easy to begin with, did it?
No. So we, our first house we bought when we were 21, there was like, it sounds really bad. It was a developer that had died. So he was halfway through doing the house up and he'd passed away.
Right.
So we bought that. We finished doing it up. We sold it on. We bought our house that it was nearly a repossession, but it was in a really sorry old state. And we bought it back in 2017.
Okay.
So we were about 28 when we bought it. But like I said, it was in a bit of a sorry state. We lived in it for 6 years in the way it was. We had the shower in the ensuite leaked over the TV. So you couldn't shower in the ensuite. We had one shower that's in a boat bath. I don't know if you've been in a boat bath. They're about this long and they're like as high as a bath. So you had to like climb into it.
Like in Peaky Blinders when they're in the...
I haven't watched Peaky Blinders.
Oh, have you not?
No.
There's a recommendation for you.
Yeah.
Like the old school baths.
It's like about this high and about a metre and a half long, and it's like a proper little bath, but it's just tiny.
Right.
But it would flex every time you got into it. So when you got into it, the floor would like bow, and then the hot water was very sporadic. So you'd either be like scalded or frozen, and that was for 6 years. It wasn't like
6
yeah.
years.
Oh, and by that point, the shower head had fallen off, so it's held together by one of my bobbles, tying it onto the little bar at the back. When I was pregnant with my eldest, our heating failed when I was 3 months pregnant. Our boiler failed. And because we knew we were going to have to do a refurb, we didn't replace the boiler. So the whole winter that I was pregnant with him, my husband would wake up half an hour before I did. He'd put the fan heaters on in our bedroom. And I used to have to drive down to the gym to shower. We then did up the annex. I know it's very, like, not everyone's got an annex, but we did up 1 bedroom and the games room to move into there for when we had him. He was 10 months old when we started the refurbishment of our house that we'd been saving for this time for. And then 2 weeks into the refurbishment, I walked onto the building site and had to call my husband off and was like, I've got some news. And he was like, what? And I was like, I'm pregnant. And he was like, after the initial, like, I'm so happy, was like, you've got to be kidding me. If you'd told me this a week ago, we wouldn't have taken all the plaster off the walls. Like, we would have tried to make it work.
Yeah.
So then we had a very, very rushed 9-month refurbishment of our house. And then we moved in 3 days before she was born with no furniture. There was still stuff going on. We had no carpet upstairs, no furniture downstairs. The ensuite wasn't connected. We had the family bathroom and the nursery, and we built the bed the day before she was born in our bedroom.
You're saying we here?
Oh, yeah. I'm one of these people, like, I'm the kind of person that like a doctor would despair at, because
Like
I'm like,
hands-on.
oh yeah. I waddle around with this giant bump, just like, we'll do this, we'll do that. Like I'm trying to carry stuff, and yeah, I just don't. So yeah, it hasn't now. I think people look at a very glossy, very finished product and go, oh my gosh, it's amazing. And I'm like, it is, but I'm extremely grateful for it, because I just still wake up every morning, swing my legs out of bed and think, oh my God, carpet. Because we had raw floorboards for like 7 years. Here's one for you. The structural engineer came round halfway through our refurbishment and was looking at the underside of our house, and he went, oh, well, I'm not going up there. And we were like, what do you mean you're not going up there? He said that whole first floor is structurally unsupported and should be condemned. I'm not going upstairs.
And you've been living.
Yeah. And he went, who's been going up there? I was like, we've lived up there for 6 years. He was like, well, I'm not going upstairs. That boat bath that used to bow when we got in it, yeah, underneath it was a rubber car boot mat, and that was the only waterproofing it had. It had been a complete, like, bodge job. So, yeah, very lovely, lovely, lovely house I'm extremely grateful for now. But, like, yeah, it was a long, old process. It wasn't just like that.
That's crazy. And I like how you've shared, like, the raw aspects, no floorboards. Like, you were living in a building site, let's be honest. Like 6-7 years. Yeah. My house being refurbed at the minute, and it's been 3 months, and I'm pulling my hair out saying, what's going on? Yeah. When we had our meeting and you said 6 years, I went, God, I hope my husband doesn't listen to this. He'll be saying, yeah, you big baby, look. Other people actually have to deal with refurbs. Wow.
So, yeah, I think now when people say to me, oh, my gosh, I love your house, I take it so personally. I'm like, oh, thanks so much. Because so much of my time and effort has gone into, like, picking different things. And it's like the dressing room now. Like, I am so happy to have a dressing room. Because, one, I'm 36. And it's like, I think it's most girls' dream to have a little dressing room. Yeah. But like the thought, the 7 years of living in a cold, showering at the gym.
7 years. Like, your children aren't even 7.
No.
That's a long time.
Yeah, it is now. Now I think about it, I'm like, oh yeah, that's quite a long time to do that for. But that's how we have the kind of house we have, is because we bought it right at the bottom of the market in a really, really sorry state.
Yeah.
And then we saved for 6 years to be able to do it. So you're looking, like I said before, you're looking at a very glossy finished product, but I definitely don't take it for granted. It's not the kind of thing where I'm like, oh yeah, it's just my home. I'm like, this is my house.
Do you know what? You always come across like that as well, though. You don't, especially to me as a viewer, you've never came across as, yeah, this is life and life is absolutely perfect. You're real.
Yeah.
And you do talk about it in your videos as well, the element that, it wasn't always this way.
Yeah.
And life is tough and life can get hard.
And aside from the kitchen and the utility, which were both a bit more like bespokey, high end, I think a lot of people get like surprised by the fact if someone says, oh, where's that sofa from? I'm like, IKEA. Like, where's that sofa from? My Home Sense. Where's that from? That's from IKEA as well. Our house is not a set, and I also don't think it's realistic to have high-end things all the time. So I will tell everything in our house is usually from the high street. There's a few exceptions. The bedside tables are quite expensive, but like the headboards from John Lewis. Do you know what I mean? I think people look at my house and think, oh, it's all going to be horrifically expensive. And I'm like, no, because me furnishing my home is like an actual joy. I'm not going to keep going to like high-end. Do you know what I mean? That's not real life. Yeah. So I'm buying tiles at the moment. Like, I'm probably explaining this really badly, but I think people think it's more high end than it is, but I'm not like that. I'm not explaining this very well.
I think you are.
Am I?
I think what you're sharing here is you're fearful that somebody's perception may be, oh yeah, really, really glossy. Everything in my house is really, really expensive. But if they actually watch the videos and get to know you and also listen to this, you're sharing, no, I'm just Victoria and this is real. And I shop on the high street.
Yeah.
I go to TK Maxx and Home Sense. I've spent 6 bloody years renovating my home. It's been a long old slog. And am I really going to go and get really, really expensive furniture when I don't necessarily need to.
Also, I think you miss the joy.
Yeah.
Some of the joy of like actually making your house your home is going and finding little things.
Yeah.
Like the table, there's a side table in our house that was 99p on eBay. There's a fun in that you can't replicate by going to a high-end furniture store and just whipping out your credit card. Like there's a fun in like browsing a charity shop. There's like, it gets me going, you know, like finding a bath on eBay that's a return. You're like, yeah,
I'm having that.
I'm having that. Do you know what I mean?
But that's what I really like about you so much is because you are so relatable. But not a lot of people would think that if they just saw a video and they saw your home, they might think, whoa, okay. But then when you watch, that's why I liked you. And I've said, I don't know if you can tell, but oh no, she's real actually. She's normal. She's really likable.
Yeah.
So don't lose that.
Okay. I don't think,
anyway.
no.
You won't.
The other thing is I've decided quite early on that I don't want to do ads or accept gifted stuff.
Okay.
I know that I'm sharing my life.
Yeah.
I'm not really doing it to get paid.
Yeah.
So I just don't want to, because I do get a lot of offers, especially for gifted stuff now. And I just think, I don't have a judgment of, a lot of people do make money and they do accept gifted items. And I have no opinion on what anyone else does. But I kind of think I like my life. Mm-hmm. I pay for what I like. If I want to try something, I'll buy it. I'm the worst person for a poker face. Like if it's Christmas and my husband gives me a gift I don't like, he knows. And I just feel like if I was under the pressure to do an ad for something that I didn't like, you would know. And because people like know me now from my videos, I'm like, I couldn't do that. So I just don't. I've had offers like, can you send me your rates? And I'm like, I don't have rates. I don't do ads.
I love that so much for the realness of you though. You're not doing it to, and no hate, you know, you're not coming across as anybody that does take ads or affiliates or anything like that.
You. Yeah.
But what you're showing here is you're authentic, and it would show if you were then asked to promote something.
You would know.
You want to buy
you
this?
You would so know. It's like the worst part of it is that, if you paid me to do something and I'd be like cardboard, I'd be like, okay, no. The only thing I have,
your honesty,
I can't. I just can't. I did a thing for Comic Relief, but that's because I wanted to. It's like, could you do a recipe for Comic Relief? I was like, yeah, of course.
Well, it's something that you believe in, then.
Yeah,
there's a difference.
I did that.
Okay.
Yeah, I can't. I can't lie. The only thing I do really want, if anyone's listening, is I would quite like a cookbook.
Your own cookbook?
Yeah, because I'm putting together a website at the moment that's got all my UPF recipes in with like UPF meal plans, like snack ideas, lunch ideas, all those kind of things. I would like a cookbook, but that's just a me thing.
Well, shoot for the stars.
Yeah.
You'll get one.
So that's what?
Manifest it.
That's manifest it.
Love it. Okay. So what you've shared on this podcast is about your journey and how you've now become a person who daily is committed to sharing their life on social media. But that's not just who you are, is it?
No.
You are a mum of 2 children, a mum of 2 dogs. You are a wife, and you are a homeowner. You're a friend, you're a family member, you are Victoria. You're not just a lady who posts every day.
No.
You are actually a relatable person, and I think that will definitely have come across in our chat today. You're just normal, aren't you?
Yeah, well, it's just me. It's not a persona, it's not a caricature.
No, it's not.
No, it's just me.
So my last question, and I ask all of my guests this, if somebody was thinking, I really want to start, vlogging or talking about my life, what advice would you give to them?
Just start.
Just start.
Just start. Just start doing it. Say, you'll work out what your niche is. You'll make a video that will either do really well or you'll particularly enjoy doing, and then keep doing that. Because if you just do what you like to do, eventually it will become something. It might not become the thing you thought it was. I thought when I started all of this, I wanted to focus my whole social media on UPF food, on the food side of things. And I knew this lovely lady called Laura, and she said, yeah, but on a day when I can't be bothered to cook, I want to see that. I don't want to see when I've got 6 hours to home make a sourdough. She said, what about when I finish work? Well, I want to know what I do then. Can you do some videos on that instead? And that's kind of where it started. And then my friend obviously saying, you've got to put your personality in, otherwise you're just like everyone else out there.
Yeah.
What started as I want to do videos about not processed food has turned into this. So just start, because nothing's stopping you, unless, of course, it's a massive, heavy financial investment. But this isn't.
No.
CapCut is free. TikTok is free. I haven't spent a penny aside from this vlogging camera that I haven't used yet. But if you just start, you might go anywhere. You don't know.
And if somebody had the fear and the little voices that you have had, I have had, what would you say to them?
I think that's difficult to overcome, though, isn't it? Mm-hmm. But what's the worst that can happen? No one watches your videos. Oh, well.
So what?
So what?
Yeah.
The world doesn't end. Is it cringy? Yeah, maybe. But are the people who are judging you, are they people that you would go to for advice?
Powerful
If
stuff.
they're not, then why do you care what they think?
Yep.
It doesn't matter. Whatever you think is holding you, whatever you think's holding you back, it's not real. You can say, oh, these people they might judge me. They might not like me. They might say nasty things behind your back. If they're going to say nasty things behind your back, they're going to do it whether you're doing well or whether you're doing badly. Mm-hmm. If you do really well, do you know what I really like Jade Holland Cooper? Because I think there was a lot of people back in the day when she was making little tweed mini skirts that had plenty of horrible things to say about her. Yeah. And they are the same people now buying her clothes and singing her praises because she's done well. And you look at her and you think she's just got her head down and she's just ploughed on through. Yeah. And actually, if she'd listened to half the people when she started, she wouldn't be where she is now. Yeah. And I think if you just kind of take that mentality and just push forward, who knows?
There's two things that I want to say on that. I think the fear of judgment, fear of people not liking you, fear of failure, that is so common. But if we listen to it, we will remain stuck. Like what we were saying earlier. Yeah. Fear will stop us from doing it because we might think, oh, people might not like what I'm talking about. People might not view it. I have noticed that fear come up for me recently. My podcasts, you can't say, I'm going to be really, really vulnerable here. You can't see how many people listen to a podcast. So unless you look at stats, you might be able to, God knows. But Spotify, Apple Podcasts, people can't see how many people have viewed or listened to my episodes. Now, my husband was saying to me, Ellie, you need to post them on YouTube. And I'm thinking, well, okay, yeah, fine. So I started posting them on YouTube, but I wasn't as consistent as I was with the actual audio. And the other day, one of my videos, I think I went back on it and it had five views on my YouTube. And I was like, I'm taking it down. And then I literally listened to myself and went, Ellie, you haven't done that episode for loads of people to listen to it. It's doing well on the actual podcast side of things. Yeah. Who cares? And I thought, do you know what? I'm actually going to push through that fear of my YouTube being there because YouTube says how many people have watched it, and I've literally left it. Do you know what I always tell myself when I have that? Well, there's a point in the Roxy Nafusi Manifest book, and it says the universe will send you a test. Okay. The universe will test you. Yep. When you're doing well, you'll suddenly hit a wall, and it's the universe testing you. Because are you really invested? You're not invested in YouTube. You haven't made that video for YouTube. It's not prime for the YouTube algorithm. No. So yeah, the universe is sending you a test. Well, if you push forward and you change maybe the front photo of that, it might do really well. Yeah. If you keep going, then you're always going to be, it's like that Tom Brady quote, it's the consistency. You've got to push through that test from the universe because otherwise the test is you could stop. Yeah, I nearly took that video down and I the more vulnerable version of me, my younger self, wanted to tell everybody, yeah, but it's doing really well on the others. Who cares, Ellie? Yeah. I really had to catch myself then. I really did. And then the other thing which I was going to share about what you're talking about here, I've completely forgotten what it was. No idea. So what we'll do is we'll end there.
Okay.
I want to genuinely thank you from the bottom of my heart for
thanks.
messaging me back and comment on this. I think your story is amazing, and just keep doing what you're doing. Okay,
Yeah.
keep being you. Keep putting your humour in your videos, and I'm just excited to see where your journey goes.
Oh, thank you.
Have you enjoyed today?
Oh my God, I've loved it.
Are you as nervous as you were at the beginning?
No, I've got all of my verbal diarrhea
about the
out.
lights and the mics?
And the lights are very bright, aren't they?
Yeah, I'll have a headache after this. But yeah, from the bottom of my heart,
Well, thanks
you.
very much for having me.
You are very welcome. For anyone listening, if they wanted to find your social media, what would they need to put in?
It's at Four Walls Farm, as in FOUR Walls Farm, both on TikTok and on Instagram.
Fantastic. And what I'll do is I'll link them.
Okay.
In the
and on YouTube. I haven't posted a video on YouTube yet, but yeah, if you want to link me on there as well.
I'll view it.
There we go. I got one view.
Okay, well, thank you very much, my love.
Thank you.